wish you could, those types of things. That's what that's kind of what we're focusing on. It's not us going out there talking to you like we are today. It's really to hear back from you and get feedback. One of the questions, well, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. Boy, you guys could really help us out if you would make our um, snow routes match the way we actually push in MMS. Well, we can. Tell us where those routes need to begin and end, and we can break them off there to match the way you push. It's pretty simple. Take some screenshots. Tell us what routes to break them at, and we can make that happen. It's pretty simple. So it's little things like that. It helps us to go out there too and see you guys go through your process, and we can go, okay, I see why they're having some issues. Um, the system was designed to go through a process and a flow in a particular manner. And when it doesn't, it can create issues. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean your way is wrong. But maybe we can help you know the better way or easier way. So those are the points of the meeting, is just really get out there, interact with you guys face to face, hear what your roadblocks are, hear what you don't like, hear what your struggles, hopefully hear some good stuff too. But I think it was pretty well received. And Randall and I did those two together. Randall, I don't know if you have anything you want to add about those, but I thought the first two went really well.
Yeah, nothing really to add. Just if you're interested in this coming, please reach out to us, and we'll see what works best for you guys, and which group you want us to get with, and we'll try to make it happen.
Yep, thanks. Any questions there? Any comments, thoughts, real quick before I pass it on? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tommy. So I'm going to go ahead and touch base about federalization that we just went effective March, and the documenting portion of it, where to find the documents. So let me share my screen. The best place is through MMS Help. That you can find this information. You can go to help, and then it will take you to the SharePoint site, or you can go to the MoDOT homepage. And from here, you can go ahead and click on the division and business offices and go down to maintenance. And then on our maintenance page, which each district will have their own maintenance page, but it's under maintenance activities. And under maintenance activities, you'll see an area here that we have for federalizing. We have the guidance for time and expenses, your FAQs, and then the NEPA and CAVE recharge maps. But here on this sheet, I encourage you to take a look just to make sure that the activities that are listed, if there's anything new on here, it'd be highlighted in yellow. But for some of you new supervisors or crew leaders, just to be familiar with the footnotes that we have. So we'll have little notes, just those activities that we are federalizing. And then also how to use our job numbers. So when we're documenting our federalized activities, what we need to be able to get reimbursement for, it needs to have specific locations. So that means that you would need to choose the location from the map, selecting the route from the map, and then it will bring in that location. It will also bring in the project number that has been assigned to that particular activity. Some of those we do not have a project number assigned to, but you still select the location from the map. So just be familiar with this documentation and where to find it in case you have any questions. And again, if you do have specific questions that you're not getting from this document, then just please reach out to the MMS Help Desk and we'll be sure to answer that, or you can email the MMS team or reach out to us through Teams. Any question about federalizing the guidance sheet, any of that kind of information that maybe you have a question about particular activity that we're doing? Okay, no questions. I'm going to pass it on then to Randall for assigning work.
All right, thanks, Sherry. So let me share here. So let's do a quick reminder on assigning work and the safety alerts that you get. So I'm logged in as a supervisor, and we'll go to daily journal and assigning work. And let's select an activity that we can use, maybe a motor grader. So we'll select drainage, and we'll do it today. And now equipment, let's add in this motor grader here. Just not a lot of people have that training. So remember, there's a few different ways you're going to get alerts. One of them is by the activity. So we'll scroll down to the bottom. There's an hourly employee, which is handy because not a lot of hourly employees have all those trainings. So it's got the little information button here, and that's telling you there's some sort of an alert for this employee. So this would work for the same way for a full-time employee. So let's just click here and see what it is. So this employee doesn't have the basic safety or the gear up for dump truck, which is what it's required for activity R316. So that's telling you right up front, something about this employee is not going to work out too well. If you go ahead and assign this employee, what it's going to do is it's going to go to a triangle now. It's really trying to get your attention and say, hey, this guy's not trained for this activity. So the activity level is one way that it will alert you. Another way that it's going to alert you is if you assign a piece of equipment. So let's just try an employee here. Notice there's no information, so he's got all of the required trainings for the activity. Now let's assign him this piece of equipment that we had. Okay, good, worked out. So we assigned him that motor grader. Notice the triangle comes up here. So what is he missing? He's missing the motor grader operations. So you've assigned him a piece of equipment that he doesn't have training for. Now, maybe he's had that training just yesterday and it hasn't went through the system, and that's all fine. Just make sure you've got your documentation. So this doesn't prevent you from assigning that. It just is giving you a warning, hey, make sure this person has their training. So that's another way. Let's go back down to our hourly employee and see if we can assign them a role. So let's make this person the work zone coordinator and see what it gives us. Okay, so here's another example. The assigned role of work zone coordinator requires that they have advanced work zone. It also requires that they have work zone technician. So this individual doesn't have the required trainings to have a role of the protective vehicle or the work zone coordinator. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you as many alerts as possible for those categories. You know, is it for the activity? Do they have all the required training for the activity? Do they have all the required training for the role that they've been assigned? Do they have all the required training for the equipment that they're operating? Keep in mind, this is just the required trainings for those specific ones. There's other training that they may need that's not necessarily in here. So for example, pull paver, there's a pull paver training. Well, we don't really have an assigned role of pull paver, and that a pull paver is not designated as a required training for all people that work on a paving operation, because not everybody's doing that. So this is not all encompassing. It's just the main ones, the big ones that we know that is needed for the job or the role that they're doing. So those alerts are on this page when it's assigned. And let's go ahead and see if we can save this and go out and look at this page here. So not only does it give you when you're assigning them, so if a crew leader or something assigns all that stuff, supervisor comes in to see what work's been assigned for that day, he can see right here, there's a triangle, which is telling you something about this assignment that's taking place is a problem or is a potential problem. So you can click on this triangle and see all of the potential missing trainings that are there. Any questions about the whole assigning work, the alerts, what alerts are shown, anything about that?
So we got a question in our chat here. Does the same type of alert show up for OJT training? So, Melanie, we have chosen to not highlight hardly anything on OJT in assigning work, with the exception winter operations 913 and 914. We actually assigned all of it. So you had to have dump truck OJT, loader OJT, basic safety, basics, on and on. There's like 12 courses now. That's the only item that we actually required OJT. So just like what Randall showed, pick a fleet, pick an activity, pick a role. None of those are triggering off of OJT at this time. There has been questions, and actually this is going to be part of the spring meetings, is we're asking supervisors, what else do we need to consider? Because like Randall's showing you, we do not want you guys only doing a lead. Okay. We're not trying to drive you nuts and crazy on the other end, right? But we need you to appropriately account for, this is what our employees are doing. That person's a flagger. This person's a work zone coordinator. This person's running the TMA. Put them to the things they are doing. And we need to make sure roller, motor grader, equipment is taken care of. But we do not have a trigger for OJT. There is a thought of how we could. We just haven't went there. That would be something like operator in training. I signed a backhoe, and now if I assign a backhoe and I put operator in training, they just need the classroom. But if I just assign backhoe, they need classroom and OJT. We're not there. That's not what we're doing. The only OJTs, as Melanie has asked here, is only 913, 914. Appreciate you asking that. I sound like a broken record because I've said this probably at least 20 times, but it just is something that in MMS we do not feel like it's the right thing yet until we change our roles and distinguish between employees who are still just needing to get practice and on-the-job training. They don't need an alert. They're still learning how to do that piece of equipment, versus employees who really should have both OJT and classroom taken care of. Great question, Melanie.
All right, thank you. So real quickly, I'm logged in as a superintendent now. So the superintendent of that building. And I want to show you the alert that the superintendents would see. So when you go to assigning work, there's this training alerts button. And you select the date. So we only want to look at that one day. And then the superintendent would select his org. So you can only see alerts for the orgs that you supervise. So we'll go down and look at West Plains. And then what it's going to do is it's going to load the alerts that they saw for West Plains. So notice the employees, what they were assigned, what they were required, why it was missing, the number of alerts, and then what you would see if we looked back a couple weeks in and they had gotten that training. It would be the alerts of today would be 0, and then there would be the course completed date. So it kind of gives you an idea of how many alerts were there whenever this assignment was made, and then was that person signed off, or did they complete that course since that date? So superintendent can see all of the alerts for their area, and it goes all the way up. The DME can see it for everybody in all the maintenance in the district. So any more questions on assigning roles and alerts, the alerts that we see? All right. Thank you, Michael. Over to you.
I appreciate that. So again, our spring meetings are coming up. This will be one of the topics of what are some other things maybe we need to be able to set up to assign as roles. I had one of those shared with me last week in the state EAC. Mr. Mize from St. Louis suggested, hey, we need to start having the ability to assign the advanced, I can't remember what he called it, advanced driver, advanced, I apologize now. And I just added it this week. So they're not a TMA operator, they're just advanced driver to the work zone there. So those kind of things, let us know. All right, we're going to go a little bit into some activities coming up here right now. Probably you guys are doing some of those. Again, if you got questions, please put those in our chat there. We want to make sure we're addressing those. So what I've done, I'm gonna go back a little bit. I'm actually impersonating Melanie Blacklock, the supervisor up in Columbia. And so I will delete these out, so hopefully I don't mess up her time today. But notice I've kind of got some of these activities. I got dead animals in here. I got the homeless encampment. I've got litter pickup, graffiti, a lot of those kind of things that's going on in our world right now. Again, bridge flushing. And so those all those items, as you guys are aware, are underneath roadsides. So those new ones, the dead animal, the homeless encampment, the graffiti, they all fit underneath that that roadside group there. I believe we might have even put the graffiti might even be underneath the bridge also. Let's go ahead and throw bridge flushing on there. I think that's good. And so let's add, no, I don't want drainage. I want bridge flushing. So yeah, there's graffiti, so we put it underneath the bridge also. And let's throw bridge flushing in here, and we'll just run through these real fast. So when you look at these and you're going through the documentation process, working through these particular items, one of the things that I feel like is probably can be something that's coming out through these presentations that Randall and Tommy and Sheree are doing. As a supervisor, sometimes maybe we hit the easy button, right? All we've done is 32A. I question that. I am not in that camp. I do not believe in that kind of documentation when full well you're out there doing work. There's a place for 32A. I'm not going to that soapbox. Anyway, are you documenting to the level your crew is, right? And I think that often brings in some of that uncertainty, frustration, because you're not out here doing this. I encourage you, do this. If you're out there and you're with the crew doing the dead animals and all that, do this documentation. Be involved in that process. You're not just directing what's going on. Often you guys are out there involved in that work. So here's dead animal. We have turned on, as you guys can see, we've turned on all the call reports on this activity. We can do this for any activity. So I'm just going to happen to come over here and I'm going to pick Route E. So let's say we were called in. We got a call report for a dead animal out on Route E. Very easily, if you want to, top right, this page loads as begin in. Maybe it is a response to go take care of a dead animal. Make sure that it's just easy to do a point. We got that one right there. Maybe that's really kind of what you're doing. But there are other times it completely makes sense that you left it begin in because we worked all of I-70 picking up dead animals. Okay, so I'm not advocating every time it's exact points, but sometimes that's what makes sense. We picked up a dead animal on E and then down here on ZZ and back to W, right? Notice with the call report, since I picked that location as a point, it comes back and it says, hey, here's this call report. Do you want to open it up? We've connected all this in MMS. Now that call report opens, it takes you to the call report database. That lead person can come in here and add information. This is obviously something we're all the time wanting to be aware of. How timely are we taking care of our call reports? In some areas, this is a real challenge. There's just so much being asked. But pick the point, do a route if that's really what you did for the full route. Comments. See that blue button? We got this on several activities. This very easily could be something, again, that you're needing, your district's needing to track. So dead animals, I'm not advocating that anything has to be put in here, right? Maybe you are being asked by your superintendent or something to put in here, but you could if you needed to. I don't know what it might be. We're not keeping track of the number of dead animals, but for some reason, if that becomes a thing that you guys are doing, one deer, you could, but you can put comments in here just like that, hit save and move on. All right, so there's picking up dead animals. Let's go to the next one. Let's now go to homeless encampment. Same kind of a deal. When this page loads, again, you can be something that's going to start with that begin in. Actually, I was working with Melanie just last week. They had a bridge, a homeless encampment that they were working on last week. And so, they can come in here and they can pick that that particular route. They could actually change this if they wanted to and pick the bridge. They could go that way. There's nothing wrong with that, because it could be the route, it could be the bridge, kind of whatever makes the most amount of sense there. And so I'm going to keep this on routes. I'm just going to say we were working in this section of I-70 here. And so, again, pick that. Same kind of deal. There could have been a call report. Had there been one there, you could have closed that. Back to the comments. So this was one that when I was talking to the supervisor there, very easily this was, hauled off to dump truck loads to landfill. You might even say, maybe this was so many pounds. Maybe there's something that you want here, right? Again, comments are anything that keep them completely professional, none of your opinions. Every bit of this can be used in a court of law. Every bit of this can be sunshine requested. Just make it very straightforward. Data that you know that you need and keep, only keep that in there to handle that. Again, maybe you want to add an invoice to this. You could, right? You could put an attachment. Again, if you're dealing with some of these encampment situations, maybe there's some things that make sense. Next time you have a meeting with your superintendents, bring that up. Have that discussion. Is there something we want to get formalized on that process? Bridge flushing. All right, so we've started up several crews are bridge flushing, are getting right into it. We're hoping winter's all done. Again, think through bridge flushing, because many times we're doing this as an activity with multiple crews. That's a big deal, right? Only one building is really the lead for the activity. Now, every crew, every building is going to have a lead person. But who is the lead? In this case, it's going to be Columbia, but they've got Boonville helping them. Maybe they've got Jeff City helping them with TMAs, and they're running down I-70, right? And they're taking care of bridges on I-70 and going through there. So again, they're going to pick all of those bridges, as they come through and flush those on I-70 and take care of that. So just pick them, but again, make sure that you are aware of who is the lead person, right? Hitting done. Once you go past this, and of course it's going to load material. Cherie's going to touch base on material costs here in a second. But that PA page, are you supposed to report these? Frankly, we tend to still have about 15% of these are reported wrong. We did get duplicates, and it's coming from really two things. I think very seldom are we really having both crews enter them. I think that's getting fixed a long ways by this question. But where we're seeing a lot of duplicates is we find that a crew comes through this week and they swept the bridge, which is part of bridge flushing. Absolutely. Look at federalization guidance there. We swept it, and then we come around the next day and we do the bridge flushing on it. And we pick the PAs both times, right? PA needs to be when you complete the work, did this completed work, right? Or maybe another good example, we ran the driving lane today, and tomorrow we ran the passing lane on I-70. Again, keep those in mind. It's when the work is completed. Yes, we physically did all of those bridges today. If we did not, if we really only just did the driving lane, you could divide it in half, but it might just be easier for you. That day it wasn't completed, do them zeros, and the next day when you come through and actually finish them, then take care of that entry. All right. Let me just take care of something here for her as far as this is concerned. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to, and this is another one of those deals that it makes it challenging with our 32A. So many times we're just putting it to a building. Again, it needs to be representative of the work that we're actually doing. If we're out there working as supervisors, let's document where we work. Graffiti, very similar. Again, could have been on bridge. This could be on a sign, a bridge. We turned on multiple things. Traffic signal could be on a DMS board. Multiple different things that you could actually have here that graffiti could be on. And so I think it defaults to bridges. And again, maybe we've got some graffiti on a bridge here. You'll notice how the signs start showing up. But this is our bridge that we had the graffiti on, and maybe there's even that call report right there that ties to all of it. So again, that could be another great place to put comments to fill in particular information there, if there's something there. And again, if there was a call report attached to that, might be able to get that connected there. So a lot of those kind of activities, I think, going on right now in the world that you guys are a part of. Again, litter pickup. The reason I want to bring litter pickup is we will be doing our big efforts here in April. Again, out here dedicating a lot of time. In some cases, we're looking at, it could be 30, 40 hours per person to be out doing litter pickup. As y'all know, it takes a lot. We had as a DOT, we had almost 180,000 labor hours last year internally just picking up litter. And you could say we still got a lot more to do, right? And so we got contractors picking up litter, we're picking up litter. So encourage you all, when you do this particular activity, if they're out on I-70 and they're picking up litter on I-70, they run all the way through Columbia and say they're on that eastbound direction. Same kind of deal. When it comes to this comment section up here, I liked what the Southwest District did last year. Again, I think some other districts have kind of moved into this, in this world of kind of keeping up with our litter pickup. Maybe you want to add something like today it was 3 dump truck loads. Maybe what your district wants to talk about is that you actually know the pounds, and that's kind of what Melanie and I was talking about. Today we ended up hauling 15,000 pounds of trash to the landfill. Maybe that's what you want to do, or maybe it is, it's you estimated you did 300 bags of trash. But you could have a way here now to kind of keep up with that particular piece of information and track that as you move along through the process. So all of those comments, all of those kind of connections, you'll notice when you get to the summary page, those things are all sitting here. So there's that call report that I accessed. Here's the comments I did. So they're all sitting out here on this summary page that you can see as a supervisor. Again, making sure that kind of information is being documented. But really where we end up using this is once you submit your time, we'll go to results. And then underneath results, we could look up an activity such as dead animal. We could see all the locations we've been picking up dead animals, and then be able to see comments from that. Or the part with litter pickup. We could go run litter pickup for the last several weeks, and we can see everywhere we've picked up litter, how much labor equipment hours, and start seeing some notes. So here's how many pounds or bags of trash. See some information there. So just wanted to highlight those. Appreciate you guys listening. I think we're now going to transition over to Sheree's going to talk a little bit about some equipment and material usage.
So Michael, before we go down that path, the one thing that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that where I showed you the federalized activity guidance sheet was located, we also created the roadsides guidance sheet. So the activities besides the bridge flushing that Michael went through this morning is all on that roadside guidance sheet. So I encourage you to take a look at that, share that with your staff, just so you're aware that we did create that document for your use. And also keep in mind that we have now distinguished the difference between a dead animal pickup versus litter. In the past, all of that was under R411, so keep that in mind that we've separated those two out, and litter is just strictly trash pickup, any kind of litter kind of things that we have. And when Michael touched base about the expense for homeless encampment and that there was trash that was taken to the landfill, if you want to include costs that you would be able to see on results, I would encourage you that as we step through the next thing about documenting materials cost, we would be able to document that expense under other expenses. that if you took something to the landfill and they gave you a receipt and say it was 20 bucks or $100 or anything, you would be able to add that to other expenses, and you would be able to add that receipt to that particular activity, to that location. It all ties in together, and so then you would be able to see that on results. And so some of you, as we move forward with cleanup of homeless encampments, that we track some of that information, or maybe it's just superintendents, or even as a supervisor, you're interested in that that kind of information that is available to you, and you can add that to other expenses. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward to fleet usage, something that I wanted to share with you here. I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to go in here, and at times we go in and let me get to, I'm going to impersonate Todd here, and he's a signal and lighting person. And let me get to Todd here. So he's signal and lighting out of St. Louis. And I've gone ahead and I've started his documenting just in the test environment for some lighting here. And I'm going to click next, and I'm going to choose my fleet. And on here, we may have a piece of fleet that has zeros. Sometimes those zeros are just a database glitch that has happened. But the most important thing that you can go ahead and put your ending miles, but don't let it figure it for you automatically. The most important thing is that we record our exact actual usage and hours of miles and hours on that piece of equipment. So you can put in those ending miles and then put in what your actual usage is for each of those. You click confirm and then click save. Most of the time the GPS is working, but the next time that you use that piece of equipment, the GPS will pick up, it will fix the problem, and we've recorded from previous what our actual usage is for the activity that we did, the work that was performed, which is all ties together. If for whatever reason that it still seems to be that it's not keeping that GPS information, or that you see something is not right, email the MMS team email group with that unit and the date that you were recording, and let us know, because sometimes there can be a disconnect. Sometimes it could be a transfer of a piece of equipment to your org, and that things may not be right and faster. Keep in mind, we do get our data from faster. It comes into MMS. So there's certain things that may be causing a problem that we need to look into further. So just keep in mind, the most important thing, especially with our federalized activities, is we want to make sure that we are recording the actual usage that we are doing for that particular activity. Any questions about fleet usage? The other thing that we get a lot of questions about on fleet is we get questions about how to fix the mileage and hours on that. And so there is, under the help, you'll find that there's questions, MMS questions, and in there you would click on fleet and find that information. Or you can email or call the MMS help desk. So the next thing that I want to demonstrate here is documenting materials. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm going to skip through the equipment here, and I'm going to go straight to our location. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a location for my lighting. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and do a point here. I'm going to pick my location of where I did work. I'm going to select that. And when I do, you're going to see the the materials. And for signal and lighting, it's a little bit different for them, as they have very few items that are in their inventory versus what we have a lot in our field maintenance activities. So here you can either choose your inventory, which then it takes it out of your inventory once this is submitted, and you'll be able to have those consumables removed from your inventory. So you can go ahead and enter that. I had one light, and I go ahead and enter that, click out, and now I can go ahead and click save, and that comes into the center here for inventory items. But then they also have a load of items that are non-inventory. So say that they go, or even you go and you use your P card, you get a receipt for that item. You can click here, and for here, you can go ahead and type in other, and you would be able to then type in what it is, say that it was, saw blades, and you would be able to type that in and save, add to list. And now I can put that information in here and say that I did one. What I would be able to do is put in that it's $150, and now I can click save, and it adds it to it. But for signal and lighting folks, we have a list of non-inventory items just because there's a whole bunch. So if they type in S&L, there we go, S&L, then I'm able to go ahead and type in and select what is on my list. So say that I have 10 of these that I used for my activity. It brings in the totals right here, okay? So that's really important when we're looking at those expenses, that one, for signal and lighting folks, we have a whole list of non-inventory items. Same thing with maintenance. You can type in the other and you can put that information in. What it's doing is it's tying it all in to lighting, to the location that we chose. And whenever I click next and I click done, now I can see my materials are listed here. This record is all for this particular location. This is the bulbs that I use. This is the lighting that came out of my inventory for my lights. And you can see that the warehouse is added on here. So for our materials, we have both inventory, but we also have those other expenses that we had on a receipt. Any questions about documenting materials and our material cost? Okay, no questions. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Randall, who's going to discuss a budget module.
All right, thank you, Sheree. So just some quick reminders on the budget module. So I'm in as a supervisor here, and we will go into the budget. Remember, it loads yours. You can change area and look anywhere in the state. It defaults to the current fiscal year. We can select a budget class if we want to, but let's just look at everything. So a quick reminder of these columns and what they are. So the brass total, the brass is the budget, the statewide stuff that's done through legislature and all the official, that's what's sent down to the districts. The DME totals, so for an org, this is the money that's been distributed out to that org. And then it's broken up by activity class. So keep in mind the difference between activity and an activity class. Let's see. So for example here, activity class 322, that contains all but 6 of these different activities. So the all the 3.2 series activities are under this 322 activity class. So keep that in mind. Some of them are one-to-one. R312 is a one-to-one relationship. 322, multiple activities in a class. Estimated cost, this is what comes off of your work plan. So when you make your estimate of material cost when you're creating your work plan, this is the number that's there. Documented material costs. So when you actually go in and document R312 in this example, they've documented $44,000 worth of materials. SAM2 encumbered. So that's something that basically we have spoken for. We've said we're going to buy. So in your personal life, if you've written a check, you said you're going to buy something, you go write a check, but it hasn't came out of your account yet. It's this encumbered number. Expenditures, this is what financial services has paid for that activity class. So this is real money spent. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to have been documented in MMS, but financial services paid a bill and charged it to this R312. And then the remaining is your DME minus your SAM2 encumbered and expenses subtracted from that. So you can add these two up, subtract them from that, and that's what you get here. And then the percent remaining. And you can scroll down to the bottom of this and see what it is totaled up for all of them. So in this example, they've got 23.9% of their budget remaining total. Now, quickly, we look at this expenditures button up here in the top right. This is expenditures that financial services has paid. So again, it defaults to the current fiscal year. You can select a fiscal month if you want to look, or a specific activity if you want. Otherwise, if you just hit search with those blanks, it's going to bring up everything. This is the exact same thing you would get if you run a Cognos report for expenditures in your org. So we've saved you the hassle of going to Cognos and looking at that. That's what these numbers are. So broken down, fiscal month 1, that's July, right? They spent $5,000 for asphalt pavement repair. Fiscal month 2, they spent $16,000. So, and then the total over here on the right-hand side. That's a quick rundown of budget. Superintendents, you see all of your orgs. DME sees all of the district. Any questions on budget?
So Randall, if you go back to the budget page, I threw a poll question up there and it tied in what Sheree was talking about. If we enter other expenditures, will it display on this page? And which column will it display in? The answer is yes, and it displays, and Randy, you might be able to point to it underneath the documented material cost, because that is a column there of everything that you have reported. What we find frequently, as Sheree was highlighting there, we're just missing cost. And it could be big stuff. We're not getting hot mix as other. We're not getting liquid asphalt for chip seals. So again, I encourage, just beware, because this is a page that ties it together, right? This is what you're spending and helping you understand. Now, Randall, that column SAM2 though is really important, right? Because it's the real deal, right? We might have goofed something up, but that SAM2 is the actual really cut checks, like Randall was saying, that have been charged to your org for every single one of these expenses in the fiscal year.
Yep. So this one is really close. And the reason being is because Southeast puts all of their hot mix, their liquid asphalt, everything goes through inventory. So they're able to just select that on the inventory, and their documented costs are very, very close to what their SAM2 numbers are.
There you go. And sometimes it could be off, right, Randall? I mean, we've used examples like we purchased all of our chip rock a couple of years ago. excuse me, and now I'm using it, right? So it's already been
Right.
bought. We would see it as a documented material cost, but it might not show up because we didn't cut a check this year in it. But great point. We just need
Right.
to make sure we're counting our money. Good deal.
Yep. So
Thank you, man.
back to that chip sealing. Here's the example. The documented is 1,000, but they've got $100,000 encumbered. So they're purchasing rock already for what they're going to chip seal. So financial services has charged $100,000 to 31C, even though they haven't put it out on the road yet. So that's how your budget ties in. Okay. Moving on to work plans. So if we go back out and we go to the work plan module, you've got your work plans. We'll select a year, look at the current year, just look at all activities. So here's all of your work plans. You guys have put those in. You're doing a great job putting those work plans in. You can see the progress in by clicking that progress button. What that's going to do is that's going to show you what you planned, your performance target versus your performance actuals, what you've actually documented. Keep in mind, if you see these bold, I believe I've been told this is magenta, then what that is something that wasn't planned, but you've actually completed that work. So that's what that look is for. And then if you want to go see that on the map, we'll go to the map and let's look at this year's approved, and let's look at pipe culvert repair. So there's an example of where they plan to do pipe culvert repair, each one of those little dots. Now, if you want to see what they've actually done, you can click this view documented work, and you can see there's a whole bunch of check marks. So this org, they planned a bunch of work in this area. They've actually put pipes in all over the place. If you have one activity selected, it's going to give you the progress, your material cost, and your performance. So they've actually done 11.5% more cost than what they had planned, and they have done 45.8% more performance than what they had planned. So more linear feet. If you select multiple activities, these numbers start getting a little different. The material cost will stay because a cost is a cost, but it will no longer show you the performance because concrete replacement is in square yards and pipe culvert repairs in linear feet. So the performance units are different. So it can't give you that. But what it's going to do is give you the cost. So that's a good quick way to just kind of visual on a map. What did we plan? And then what have we actually done? Any questions on this? I think if you click the progress button here, no, it doesn't. Okay. Any questions on work plans or the progress? All right. So let's go back out and look at one more thing. So actually on this one, we won't actually go there. I just want to talk about the safety scores. And so specifically the accountability scores. So there's been a change being made. I think it's going to go in the April rollout for accountability scores. So those are the written warnings and above from safety violations that are being counted against you on your safety score, your overall safety score. We are no longer going to count the terminated. So if an employee comes in, they've really botched stuff up, they've had 2 or 3 warnings and they've gotten a written warning, whatever, when that person is terminated, no longer employed at MoDOT, will no longer count those written warnings against the org. So that was one thing that feedback we heard, that it wasn't really fair that somebody's been terminated and now we're still paying the price for it, whatever that is. It makes our scores look bad. It takes forever to recover. That's one thing that safety management and management's agreed will no longer count terminations.
Randall,
yeah.
The termination, if there's any other discipline for that person still there, it's just we don't count the termination.
So the written warnings that they receive still counts?
Right.
Okay.
We retain information to the org. It is only terminations. That's the record that is not counted, is what
Okay.
has been changed. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah. And again, there'll be some communication. Becky Almaroth is sending that out to our DMEs and all the leadership. We got a situational call on Thursday that she'll highlight that. But it, just like Randall, right? We all have to kind of keep going back and checking. Okay, what was that exactly, right? But yeah, the terminated record will not be counted.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure we'll have that in the guidance document at the top that explains all that.
Yes, we'll add
So-
that to our guidance. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So the other thing, let me see if I can get this one right. The AVL scores. Currently, the way it is, if a piece of equipment is assigned to an org and they loan that piece of equipment out, and there's an exception that takes place, that exception is linked to that org of that piece of equipment, and that goes back to that org safety score. Now that we have the key fobs, so we know what org that the driver is linked to, we're changing those scores to where that exception goes back to the org of the driver, not the assigned piece of equipment. So for example, Jerry Goodman in central office has a bunch of equipment in his org, and he's the only one in that org, or there's only like 2 people in that org. So when he loans that equipment out, if somebody has an exception, it dings his org for that exception. That's no longer the way it's going to be. That exception is going to go back to the org of the driver that was fobbed in. So that's another thing that we heard some feedback on, and we're getting that changed. A supervisor, this is kind of geotab stuff here, but a supervisor can go into geotab and get a driver's score. They can also get the score for their org. So then that's based on the fobs, not based on the equipment that's being driven. So that's something that you can work with your geotab admin on if you want to see that as a supervisor. But those changes have been made now since we're getting the data back based on the key fobs of who's driving. Any questions on that, or Michael, Tommy, anything you want to elaborate on that?
Oh,
All
that's good. Thank you, man. Appreciate
Yep,
it.
thank you.
Tommy?
I think, Michael, there was a question. Did you get that question in the chat?
All right. So the question: if an employee is terminated, then the problem is eliminated. So why where did warning stay and count against the org? Great question, Clifford. It is just how the process was built, and actually, we just implemented this in September, and so we started with all written warnings, and they're there for 12 months. The particular question just came up here in the last 2 months, right? So we've had this matrix for 6 months now. Was an example where we had again multiple employees in a building. Anyway, the decision was made by our leadership that we did not want to count the terminations, but the rest of the issues that have occurred would still remain there because it still was reflecting of kind of just what was going on. And so again, I think these are, Cliff, they're being looked at and moved along, but they're only there for 12 months. And I was amazed. Right now there is there's 280 or 250 maintenance orgs statewide. So let's just talk about maintenance, right? 250 when you count all the buildings and superintendents. There is 30 that are in the red, and I think it's 40 in the red and 30 that are above 100%. So pretty impressive just overall how those scores are in buildings. Again, you guys are out there every day working, but no, Cliff, right now that decision is not being changed. It is only just the terminations for safety. Again, all we look at is safety incidents. people are terminated and disciplined for other things than safety, but just terminations, not the written warnings on those people. All right. Yeah, Tommy, just highlight our module, leave, and career.
Yeah, so the career ladder, leave module, just kind of wanted to reminder, the leave module's been out there a little over 6 months now, and we've gotten really good feedback, but we do still run into some people that don't use it. So just kind of wanted to show you real quickly and just kind of a refresher / reminder. I'm actually impersonating Melanie over at the Columbia building in production, and you can see that her folks are using the leave application, and this is kind of what it looks like when she's got it in approved. If she had any that were in submitted status, they're that yellow golden color, and then if she had denied anything, that would be there in red. But as a supervisor, the advantage of, you can see all your folks on one calendar right here in MMS. You don't necessarily have to maintain a paper copy and all of that, or a calendar on your desk, or some of those types of things. Your employees can just put in their leave request. It has all leave types that are available, whether it's federal comp, annual leave, sick leave, family sick leave. All the options are there. So from a supervisor perspective, you can see, I can see a whole month's worth here, and you can page through different months, and it has it there. I just went back because she had quite a few in January to show you. So as an employee, I'm impersonating one of her folks. I'm just going to run through a leave request real quick. So I'm going to go to the leave module. I'm going to go to the leave calendar. I'm going to pick, let's just say I'll take tomorrow. I'll double click on that date, and then it pops up. And I'm going to say I only want one day off. The way the midnight to midnight works, it does trip you up because it ends up being 2 days. But because of the way the calendar runs from midnight to midnight, it puts 2 days, and we get some complaints there. And maybe that's something we're going to talk about taking a look at. But then I want to take annual leave or federal comp, whatever I want to do. And then you also have ability here. I'm not going to check his leave balance because I'm looking at his real stuff. But I check the balance as an employee. I can see it there. As a supervisor, I can see all of my folks' balance there as I process through these. And then I can put it in submitted status. You have the ability to put it in draft, but that's if you want to create this. I'm not quite ready to submit it. I just want to get it loaded up. But that's it. I hit save. And you can see here's that golden color that Mr. Lopez has requested federal comp for March 27th. And if I jump back real quick over to Melanie, we'll be able to see it on her calendar as well. Oh, if I can type it. Go to her leave calendar, and there it is. There's Mr. Lopez. So just a reminder, the leave module's out there. It works really good. We've had good feedback. Some people are all in on it. I mean, they love it. They're using it and showing it, or using it every day. Their folks are using it. They like it. They don't have to worry about, did he get my message? Did she not get my message? Did they see the note? Did they not see the note? Everything's right there electronic. So any questions on leave before I switch gears?
It's great. Tommy, I had a question I shared past you this last week from the EAC, and then one of our EAC members said, well, I submitted something, but it was denied. And I believe they felt like the system denied it. We do not have any checks to your balances. Any denial will have come back from the supervisor. So I'm still trying to get back to that employee just to make sure we're not missing something. But we did not write it to have it look at, you've only got 15 hours of vacation. You can't ask off for 3 days. But I'm still trying to track down that back with that member.
And Tommy, I just want to mention real quickly that when this is approved, so when the supervisor clicks the approve button and submits it, that sends it to assigning work and to the review and submit. So really, as a supervisor, you don't have to do anything else to it. It sends it right straight on through to review and submit.
Hey, Tommy, this is Cal in Kansas City. One question that a lot of my guys have asked towards me to ask for you guys is, under the old system, whenever we'd go in and approve it, they would get sent a notification and stuff knowing that it's been approved, denied. They'd be able to know the status of it. But under the new system, I go in and I approve it, and they don't get any kind of a notification. Is there anything in the works or anything that might be able to be done to where that employees, once we have approved it or denied it as a supervisor, they would get notification?
So Calvin, go ahead, Michael.
Well, we've talked about, Calvin, what would help the most there, because when they look back at their calendar, it shows approved. So it's a matter of them looking back at their own calendar and seeing that it's approved, or there is another way we make the notification. And we're kind of struggling between the reality of, is it beneficial to do an email notification versus something different? But we're open to ideas, but that's where we stopped at, right? The employee can go back and look. It's approved, denied, it's in the system. There's not an email following, and we're really trying to balance that too. Is it beneficial to do the email or not? So yeah, if you guys have thoughts there, Calvin, please share those. Let us know.
No, I will follow up with my guys. Okay.
Yeah. Let us know kind of what they feel like. But like I said, it is there. They can look at their own. It's just, is there help of sending another email? And, that's where we got caught on that one. We just didn't know.
Okay.
Good question, man.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm gonna finish with the career ladder module. We're a little bit over time, but so I'm just gonna talk. The new career ladder module is scheduled to go live on April the 12th. We offered, this morning was our third of 4 training sessions that we've offered up to maintenance, bridge maintenance, and traffic signal and lighting. Thursday, I think it's Thursday afternoon. Michael or Randall, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Thursday afternoon will be our 4th and final training on that. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to attend or will attend on that career ladder module. If not, Randall and I are working on some videos that we'll have ready in a week or so. It'll look at it. There'll be one for the video for the employee. There'll probably be one for just the level 1 supervisor, and then there'll be one for the level 2, 3, 4, and then we'll have one for the HR. The level 2, 3, 4 is pretty much the same process. It's the same flow. It's just a matter of what title you are. So that can just be one video. So I think we'll end up with 4 unique videos. We're going to try to make them short and to the point, but it'll look at it from the employee perspective, that level 1 reviewer perspective. Then if you're a 2, 3, or 4, and then of course HR will have their own video. So those will be coming out as well. They're going to do, HR's doing connections articles. We're going to, we'll probably have some in the weekly news. There'll be lots of communication. There has been lots of communication already leading up to it. So you should be hard pressed to say you're surprised there's a new career ladder module coming out or that you haven't heard of it when it goes live. But always reach out to us as well. We'll have videos on our MMS training site. There'll be lots of places that we can get you exposed to those. Michael, anything else you think I need to touch on there?
No, that's fantastic.
Good.
And so again, it's amazing how we can come up with so much stuff. You guys feel like we're probably throwing everything at you this morning, but we just, again, want you to be informed. Last little thing, this is our next effort. We are actually building the license part of ladder license to leave. This is actually in our development. And Calvin, so I came in as you. This is your group. There's going to be a page for the driver's license. The employee would come in and see their own. There's going to be a page for professional licenses. This is what HR has in their database. Sometimes there's really not much there at all on that, but we're using theirs. And then training courses. And so this will come down to being able to see your own individual org and see what that looks like, and then be able to basically open up every single employee. What this is going to help us with is it's what they've taken, already completed, but we're going to start using this world of expirations. You know, is this course like Advanced Work Zone? It's good for 4 years, or CPR. We have the ability to see expired licenses, thing that's getting ready to expire, notifications. So excited about this effort. That's kind of the next thing around the block that we're trying to work on. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate the questions. Send us a note. Give us a holler. We want to make sure that we're appropriately answering everything that you guys got going on. Thank you for everything you do. Be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Give us a call. We'll see you.